Fans are still perplexed to this day as to why they were never given the opportunity to make their relationship official, despite the fact that Gunsmoke's Marshall Matt Dillon and Miss Kitty are among the most legendary on-screen couples in Hollywood. What really caught people's attention was the tension that was present between Matt Dillon and Miss Kitty, which was not overt, but was nonetheless obvious. Given that Miss Kitty made her last appearance on Gunsmoke in 1974, it is remarkable that fans of the show, both young and old, continue to tune in and discuss the answers to those questions almost half a century after the show's conclusion. In addition, you will be taken aback when you learn that the response comes from none other than James Arness himself. Let's go into the matter and discover the truth about what took place. Around the year 1952, Gunsmoke was initially broadcast on the radio. Upon making the decision to adapt those thrilling tales into a television series, they immediately began searching for a person who would be appointed to guard Dodge City. Fortunately, it appeared as though James Arness, who was 32 years old at the time, was the center of attention. Indeed, John Wayne was the one who suggested him for the part, and he was successful in beating off a number of other candidates, one of whom was William Conrad, who provided the voice of Marshall Matt Dillon on the radio. As a towering man who stood at a height of 6 feet 7 inches, James Arness was the ideal person to bring a wide variety of stories to life. Because he had gone through the problems of the globe himself as a soldier of World War II, he had a profound understanding of their struggles. To put it simply, the studio and the authors were looking for someone who was bold enough to take on the agony, and he was, without a doubt, that person. During the course of Gunsmoke, the Marshal endured threats of being shot, beaten, stabbed, and even being poisoned on one occasion. James Arness was the only person who was supposed to play this position, and he didn't have to make many adjustments in order to take on the job. Amy Stock, who collaborated with him on 4 Gunsmoke films, remarked on how effortlessly the Marshal transitioned from being off-duty to being in action on screen. The first time she saw him, he was dressed in the Dillon hat, the coat, and a pair of tennis shoes, she said. He was also wearing tennis shoes. He was sitting in his chair in a casual manner, still wearing his tennis shoes, when the filmmakers informed him, "We're ready for you on set." He immediately removed his tennis shoes and put on his cowboy boots. Instantaneously, he made his way straight to his horse, and in that very instant, he transformed into Matt Dillon. According to her, he was the ideal candidate for the role of the character. The actress Amanda Blake was in her mid-20s when she was offered a role in the Western television show Gunsmoke. She was ecstatic about the opportunity. In order to land the role of Miss Kitty, she exerted a great deal of effort, and she was thankful to have the opportunity to appear on screen alongside James Arness, who played Marshal Matt Dillon. As soon as Amanda began playing the role of Miss Kitty, the proprietor of the small tavern in Dodge City, fans fell in love with her performance. When the show made the transition from black and white to color during the 1966 season, which was about equivalent to the middle of its run, her appearances really came into their own. Gunsmoke began airing in 1955 and continued until 1975, resulting in a total of 20 seasons of the show. While James Arness continued to appear on the show throughout all 20 seasons in the role of Matt Dillon, Amanda Blake's tenure as Miss Kitty came to an end during the 19th season. Despite the fact that the authors of the series did not delve more into the specifics of Matt and Miss Kitty's connection during the entirety of the show, it was clear that there was something more profound between them. The 26th of May, 1923, found Jim Arness being born in the city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. During the year 1945, he began his remarkable career in the field of radio broadcasting in the state of Minnesota. Immediately following his relocation to Los Angeles, he began to garner attention from the film business. His first major role was in 1947, when he was cast alongside Loretta Young in the film The Farmer's Daughter. In the same year, he also won roles in a number of westerns. His big break came in 1947. There was a significant boost to his career as a result of his appearance in the classic science fiction film The Thing in the year 1951. Jim entered into a deal with Batjack, the production firm owned by John Wayne, at the beginning of the 1950s. Over the course of his 3 years there, he collaborated with Wayne on 4 different projects. In 1955, Jim was given his first major break when he was hired in the role of Marshal Matt Dillon in the new television series Gunsmoke. John Wayne was the one who helped Jim earn his big break. According to the legend, while CBS was in the process of transitioning the show from radio to television, they had first desired to cast Wayne in the part. In lieu of accepting it, he suggested that Jim be hired instead. CBS, along with 25 other individuals, including Raymond Burr, decided to offer Jim a chance to try out. Jim was a little hesitant about entering the world of television even after he was selected to play the role of Dillon, but he ultimately decided to go for it. He ended up remaining with Gunsmoke for 20 years, during which time he received 3 Emmy nominations. The show was eventually canceled in 1975, making it the longest-running dramatic series in the history of television. Also, he had roles in 4 Gunsmoke television movies, the most recent of which was titled Gunsmoke: The Long Ride, and it was released in the year 1992. Even after Gunsmoke, Jim continued to look for opportunities in television westerns. From 1976 till 1979, he appeared in the miniseries How the West Was Won, which is widely regarded as one of the most successful shows of its kind. The police drama Big Jim McClane, which he starred in for the final time, was broadcast on television in the early 1980s. The voyage that James Arness took as a soldier in the United States Army was quite an adventure before he became renowned in Hollywood. In addition to the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, and the Combat Infantryman Badge, he was awarded a number of other prestigious distinctions throughout his time in the military. His accomplishment is remarkable when one considers that he had previously intended to join the Navy as a fighter pilot, but was denied entry due to the fact that he was too tall. On the other hand, the Army made effective use of his height. He was the first person to step from the landing craft after he arrived at Anzio beachhead in Italy on January 22, 1944. His mission was to determine the level of the water on the beach. After only 10 days of arrival, he found himself in the midst of some particularly nasty battles. It was a pitch-black night on February 1, 1944, and he was slipping through a vineyard when he heard voices and a cry, which was then followed by violent gunfire. He was hit by heavy machine gun fire, which caused his lower leg to shatter. Additionally, a nearby concussion grenade threw him into the air, while bullets rained all around him. Despite the fact that the soldiers were successful in winning the battle, Arness sustained terrible injuries that required him to undergo many surgeries in the United States in order to repair his leg. It was on January 29, 1945, that he received an honorable discharge from the military. Subsequently, he enrolled at Beloit College and began working as a radio announcer, which led him to an unexpected road into the entertainment industry. During his journey to Hollywood in quest of acting opportunities, he hitchhiked there and quickly became friends with John Wayne. In order for Arness to become a well-known figure in the position of United States Marshal Matt Dillon, Wayne offered him a nod when the opportunity to play the character of Matt Dillon presented itself. The persona he depicted was one who defended the law with a deep sense of fairness and compassion against those who broke it. Kitty Russell, a character on the television show Gunsmoke, was all about love, or love rather than drama. On the other hand, Amanda Blake, who played her, was exactly the same way in real life, putting her whole heart into her career and pursuing her passion for rescuing animals, particularly cats and dogs. Beverly Louise Neal was the name that Amanda Blake was given when she was born in Buffalo. On February 20, 1929, she was the only child of Jesse and Louise Neal. She had some English and Scottish heritage, and she could trace her roots back to a Revolutionary War hero named Kate Barry. Kate Barry was a hero who helped warn patriots about the British and played a role in their victory at the Battle of Cowpens, which was a significant victory for the victory at Yorktown. The relocation to Claremont, California, that Beverly and her family made occurred when she was a senior in high school. After completing her high school education at Claremont High School, she continued her education at Pomona College. However, while she was still in school, she became very involved in community theater, which eventually began to take over her life. As a result, she made the decision to pursue a career in acting. In the 1940s, she immersed herself in the world of acting, as evidenced by her participation in summer stock shows in New England, as well as theater and radio gigs in Buffalo. She worked as a telephone operator as she pursued her acting ambitions in order to keep her dreams alive and to keep her dreams alive. Beverly was eventually able to make her way to Hollywood after being noticed by MGM. The studio had high hopes for her and labeled her the next Greer Garson, who was a huge box office smash in the 1940s. They had tremendous ideas for her potential. She went through the process of officially changing her name from Beverly Neal to Amanda Blake in an effort to find a name that was possibly more memorable. At the beginning of the 1950s, Amanda began her career by landing a role in the film Stars in My Crown. She went on to appear in over a dozen films and television shows during this time period. However, the role of Miss Kitty Russell, the proprietor of the Long Branch Saloon in Dodge City, was the one that brought her the most success in the acting world in the year 1955. James Arness, who was unknown at the time, performed the role of Marshal Matt Dillon, and she appeared beside him. During the subsequent 19 years, they were able to develop one of the most well-liked Western television shows in the history of television. After her first divorce in 1956, Blake frequently hung out on the set of Gunsmoke, even on her days off, since it provided her with a sense of belonging. She once stated that being on the Gunsmoke set was like being among family. Between the years 1955 and 1974, she appeared as a guest on a number of television shows, including Alfred Hitchcock Presents, The Red Skelton Show, the Dean Martin Comedy Roasts, Tattletales, Match Game, and The Love Boat. Additionally, she did not feature in a significant number of films during this time period. She tied the knot with her second husband, Jason Seymour Day, in 1964, but the couple's marriage ended in divorce in 1967. After that, in 1967, she wed her third husband, Frank Gilbert, and remained with him until 1982. She remained married to him until then. It was only natural for viewers to anticipate a romantic relationship developing between the two characters because they were so endearing. The love aura that existed between them was, in reality, more than just the result of fan speculation. But before we get into that, let's discuss more about Miss Kitty and what some of her fans believe to be the likely reason why the couple never ended up getting married. Cowboys who were unruly and frequently had a few too many drinks were served by her while she wore dazzling clothes and handed them alcohol. In addition to that, she was always willing to provide some sound counsel and listen to their tales with regard to the cowboy lifestyle. This does not seem at all like what you would anticipate from a teacher of Sunday school in the year 1955. The behavior of a decent lady in the Wild West was not intended to be what it is today. It was even possible for Miss Kitty to conceal a shotgun behind her bar. She was a fearless pioneer woman who was much more exciting than the majority of women. In terms of recruiting and firing her waitstaff, she was the one who made all of the decisions. She was a bit bolder than the females she employed, and they were younger than she was. When the cowboys returned from the cattle routes, they were rough, rugged, and a little wild. They were searching for more than just beverages and talk. They were looking for something more. Even though it was obvious that Kitty and Matt had a strong connection, they never showed any public affection for one another. This was a decision that was taken by the writers and producers of the show. Instead of over-the-top demonstrations of love and emotion, they wanted the characters to communicate with one another through chemistry. A lawman of Arnest's caliber was truly remarkable. As a result of his ability to handle a large horse and his excellent shooting skills, he was a reliable peacekeeper, even though he might not have been the best possible husband. Given that Matt and Miss Kitty were so enamored with one another, it begs the question, why did they not get married after 20 years of being together? Did Kitty cause Matt to feel embarrassed? She was not afraid to say what was on her mind, and was able to hold her own when drinking and shooting with the most jaded of men. It's possible that Dillon was simply looking for a bride who was more of a conventional homebody type. James Arness, on the other hand, disclosed some of his opinions regarding the reasons why Kitty and Matt never really got together in Gunsmoke. James Arness wrote an autobiography titled James Arness, an autobiography in which he discussed how fans frequently questioned the nature of Matt Dillon's relationship with Kitty and the reasons why it was never successful. The explanation that he provided was as follows. Over the years, fans have frequently asked me about my character Matt Dillon's relationship with Kitty, and why it never seemed to progress beyond the air of the romance between us. Amanda Blake was quite clear that no one should meddle with her role. The whole thing about their relationship, Arness emphasized, was more about the choice that the producers made than it was about anything else. It was brought to his attention that the decision was made by the producers, since going any further would make the situation more complicated and could even result in a decrease in the popularity of the show. Arness proposed that it would be beneficial for the audience to maintain a relationship that is understated and a little bit mysterious, even if they did not perceive it in that aforementioned manner. They thought it was more titillating to leave matters to the viewer's imagination, he continued, and as a result, our relationship was minimized. Despite the fact that their relationship was platonic, Arness and Amanda Blake's affection for one another as performers was still visible behind the scenes of the series. Arness lauded the selection of Blake to play the role of Russell, stating that she was a prime example of the exceptional casting that contributed to the incredible success of the program. Blake, according to Arness, is not just a superb actor, but also a wonderful friend. One of the explanations that was brought up in the conversations was that a law enforcement officer may potentially create enemies, and that Kitty's vulnerability could be increased if she were to be recognized as Matt Dillon's girlfriend. Now, what exactly was the nature of their relationship supposed to be like? According to Jim Burns, who was responsible for writing 34 of the show's best episodes, they kept a low-key attitude throughout the whole run. Following the fade-out, he stated, "There was an unspoken agreement that after the Long Branch closed and Matt Dillon put up the 'closed for the night' sign, he would go over to the Long Branch and go upstairs. This was the agreement that had been made. However, we did not investigate that. Despite the fact that they flirted, teased, hugged, and walked away with their arms around one another, they never committed to kissing each other." James Arness was adamant in his belief that the makers of the show purposefully decided to keep the nature of the relationship between Matt and Kitty unclear. It was important to them that the fundamental nature of the show and the characters not be altered too much. The fact that they received a lot of fan feedback requesting greater romance development between the two characters indicated that this tactic appeared to be successful. The creators of the show aimed to maintain the viewer's interest and curiosity. Consequently, they sustained this level of tension throughout the entirety of the series. He is of the opinion that this strategy was quite successful. Despite the fact that the creators of Gunsmoke were not planning on marrying off Matt and Kitty, they did realize that tensions would mount and that temptations would emerge. In Kitty's Outlaw, which is the 5th season of the show, Annely Pryor is a villain from Kitty's past who puts her devotion to Matt to the test. During the 8th season of The Way It Is, Claude Enns has time for Kitty when Matt does not. On the other hand, in the 8th season of Cotter's Girl, Matt makes an effort to assist Marriott Harley, an orphan, and finds himself the target of her romantic love. In the 12th season, Sarah, Anne Francis, a former love of Matt's, is now operating a way station for criminals and is fervently wishing for Matt to return to her. In The Badge, the 15th season, Kitty witnesses Matt being shot for the 11th time, and she is unable to bear it any longer. In addition to moving to a different town and entering into a business partnership with Beverly Garland, she also puts the Long Branch up for sale. When 1973 rolled around, it appeared as though there was a change in the dynamic between Matt and Kitty. As part of a plot in which Matt experiences a loss of memory, Miss Michael Learned, who is most remembered for her role in The Waltons, played a love interest for Matt. It is an uncommon occurrence for Matt to kiss someone, yet their friendship deepens, and they kiss each other. On the other hand, whenever Matt manages to retrieve his memory, he goes back to Miss Kitty. It is interesting to note that this plot was repeated in a television movie 17 years later. In the story, the characters of Miss Learned and Matt have a child together, but the infant is kidnapped. The search for Matt's child is being conducted with the assistance of another figure. As a surprising turn of events, the other character displays an interest in marrying the character played by Miss Learned, which is a reflection of the earlier love tension that existed between Matt and Kitty. Over the course of one of the later seasons, Miss Kitty comes into contact with a guy who sustains injuries as he is attempting to protect her from a stagecoach robbery. During the course of this man's proposal to her, Matt had a chat that is filled with emotion. Matt and Kitty talk about the lengthy history they have in common, as well as the profound sentiments they have for one another. Although she is uncertain about whether or not their relationship has the ability to develop into anything more, she ultimately acknowledges the constraints that their circumstance imposes on them. Despite the fact that Matt is aware of his emotions, he does not intervene in the decision-making process. Amanda Blake's final performance as Miss Kitty occurred during that season, which came as a complete surprise. Now that she was married and living in Arizona, she found the routine journey to be increasingly difficult, and she frequently found herself in conflict with the producer, John Mantley. During their most significant fight, Blake's outfits became the focal point. In spite of the fact that Miss Kitty was supposed to have an air of sophistication at all times, Mantley had not set aside any funds for Blake to purchase new clothes for several years. Mantley fired her after she insisted that she needed to get a new wardrobe before proceeding with the conversation. After some time had passed, he would admit, "It was the biggest mistake I had ever made." Amanda participated in the discussion as well, so it wasn't simply James who had anything to say about the matter. Amanda Blake asserts that the creators of Gunsmoke purposefully refrained from incorporating any kind of romance plotline involving Matt Dillon and Miss Kitty into the show. They reasoned that incorporating romance into the show would disrupt the Western atmosphere of the show and had the potential to turn off some viewers. For the purpose of ensuring everyone that Dillon's affections for Kitty were significantly more profound than his connection with his horse, Blake made a joke about the classic Western cliché, which states that heroes are more interested in their horses than they are in women. She went on to say that Gunsmoke was created with the intention of appealing to a diverse audience by utilizing the allure of the Old West to establish a connection with people of all ages. It was difficult to find any area for romance in this story because of the emphasis placed on historical aspects. In light of the fact that the show itself did not portray any obvious romantic moments, Blake encouraged viewers to speculate about the love possibilities that existed between Kitty and the Marshal. Following the completion of one more season in 1979, the series came to an end. Arness continued to star in the television series How the West Was Won, the police drama McLean's Law, and the television picture The Alamo, 13 Days to Glory, in which he brought the character of Jim Bowie to life. While all was going on, the Gunsmoke family got back together in 1987, and John Mantley brought Amanda back for the first of the television movies, which was titled Gunsmoke: Return to Dodge, and was written by Jim Burns.